What up, everybody? Welcome to Uncle Jamie's College Football Locks. I'm your host, John Marks. You can follow me on all platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, at John, JONMARKS Media, at John Marks Media. You can see me right down there. And let's bring on the man himself. 2-1 last week in his College Football Locks. It's Uncle Jamie joins us. Uncle Jamie.
Hey, what's happening? You and I, John, we have some exciting news to announce. We have a new nephew in our family. How about that, Jace Rapinski, your newest United States men's soccer team star 20 years from now. So
Yes.
Keep that name in your bank.
My cousin Laura, Jamie's niece Laura,
Yep.
and her husband Jake. Yes, earlier today.
Yep.
Yes, welcome the baby boy into the family.
That is correct. So good stuff. There. Both are doing good in the hospital. So all is well. So that's good to hear.
Yes. So here's the format of the show. We talk a little college football, and then Uncle Jamie gives his 3 locks for the weekend. Last week, 2-1, coming off a good weekend.
Woo! Just that Texas 31-10 fourth quarter, and that Vandy decided to rally, but it came up a little bit short in the end. So Texas held out.
I was already counting the money on that bet, and then I'm watching and I'm saying, uh-oh. But by the hair of your
getting sweaty at the end. Yeah, so it's getting sweaty at the end for sure. But it was for once you saw what Texas was forecasted to be, right? Really strong defensively for 3 quarters. Arch Manning looked efficient in the offense. They looked like a real team. But I think, one thing that you're definitely going to see is that Manning, I think 99% you'll see him back at Texas next year, right?
Oh, no, for sure.
Right.
For sure. Everybody that I talked to had said, even before the season when he was projected to be the Heisman favorite, which obviously isn't happening, had said that he's going to go back anyway. And my reaction was, well, we'll see. It may depend who is the first pick. It may depend how far he progresses. Yeah. He is not ready to go out, and he doesn't need to. So I'm just curious what he looks like next year, because he went from he has every tool that you want. He's got the pedigree. He's got the mind for it. But I watched him, like you had said, he's efficient. All right, is that what you're looking for in a first overall pick and efficiency? Yeah. No, he hasn't played a lot. This is the first season he's really playing, so I'll be curious to see what he looks like next year.
I would be curious also. I think in this in the Sarkisian offense, I think you definitely, if you look at Quinn Ewers, he was definitely 100% better in his second year. I think he gets more comfortable next year, but you got to in some degree the kid having that Manning on the back of his jersey, that's just a killer, man. It's just literally a killer for that kid. I mean, every bit of expectation is on him at every point, being compared to his uncles. The tough spot for the kid. He's lived a charmed life, but trying to be a quarterback and be a Manning after your grandfather's a Hall of Famer, your 2 uncles are Hall of Famers, or one soon to be a Hall of Famer. That's a tough pedigree to live up to. So interested to see how the kid turns up.
Sure is. Big story that we've been tracking here the last couple of weeks is the Penn State job opening and who's going to get it, right? The news this week, my buddy Zach Gelb, who works nationally at Xfinity Sports Radio or Infinity Sports Radio, and he had reported Urban Meyer very much wanted the job, but upon interviewing for the job, Pat Kraft and the administration at Penn State were not impressed with the interview. I guess he was unprepared and didn't give the answers that they liked in the new NIL culture of college football. Again, this is a report. Urban Meyer denied this. But I mean, Jamie, I'll say this. I saw a lot of Ohio State fans saying, "Oh, Urban Meyer doesn't want that job." That would be a really good job. If Urban Meyer wants to get back into football, the Penn State job would actually be the perfect job for him.
Yeah, I think a lot of these older coaches that you're talking about, Ed Orgeron, he intimated, I'd love to be the LSU coach. Urban Meyer, Saban, a lot of these guys, in this new era with NIL, the game has passed them by. I can, not in 100 years, could imagine Penn State hiring Urban Meyer. Everything I see, feel, read is telling that Brian Hartline and or Pat Fitzgerald is going to be your Penn State coach. Yeah. Pat Fitzgerald has been doing a lot of publicity lately, done a big interviews, was on Feinbaum. his hat is firmly in the ring in a lot of jobs. I think he's going to get multiple offers. I think he's holding out for that Penn State job. I think he wants Penn State. You can see a Pat Fitzgerald, linebacker right? Pat Fitzgerald was a great Northwestern linebacker. You can see Brian Hartline. I mean, super smart, right? Does Penn State bring back Jim Knowles next year? The defensive coordinator, highest paid coordinator in all of college sports, brought him from Ohio State. They've been a dud, yep. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens in that regard. I could potentially see, throw this at you. Pat Fitzgerald is your Penn State head coach. And how about that one, Al Golden, after his 1 year of the disastrous Cincinnati Bengals coming back to college ball and taking over at Penn State? That could be a partnership. Or, that you can see potential mashups all over the place. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. To your point, does Knowles stick? If it's Fitzgerald, is he keeping, or is Fitzgerald come in and won his own defensive coordinator, which happens a lot?
Yeah.
You were talking about before with these older coaches, and it's the reason why Nick Saban retired when he did. Urban Meyer's used to having his players, these kids, by the balls. He's the one with power. He's the one got them by the balls. Not anymore. They got the coaches in the universities by the balls. Everybody's on a 1-year contract. So if you think you can come in and be a dick to everybody because you're Urban Meyer, no, you can't do that anymore. I still think he wants to coach. I think he'll get a job somewhere at some point.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of where. And is a major university going to be willing to give another chance to Urban Meyer? He's won, but college football has changed very quickly.
I'm telling you, John. I mean, look at a Hugh Freeze down in Auburn got clipped this week. I mean, another SEC job. I mean, Auburn's a big job. There is big jobs out there that it'll be so interesting to shake out to what these universities end up doing. But it's intriguing. I know on your show you were talking about Dabo Swinney, right? And his comments about NIL.
Yeah, and when you look at like Dabo from the start, when the whole transfer thing the transfer portal became more of a thing in college football. What are we talking about, 5 years ago or something like that? And he refused to embrace it, not embracing it. We don't do that. And I get it. You want to be able to recruit. You want your freshmen to come in and earn playing time. By the time they're sophomores, they're getting more playing time. And then they're juniors and they're becoming stars. And he was able to recruit and get a lot of talent. But the culture of college football is you don't have these players by the balls anymore. And Dabo, I think, is learning that the hard way.
Yeah, he after they lost last week by a point, he comes to the press conference and he says, "Well, I might be getting fired this week." And then the day after, he expands upon his feelings about NIL and why he's not in on it and what happened to college sports. And today, I don't know if you saw the clip, but Dan Lanning is doing his press conference. And the reporter asked him, one of your players this morning filed for the portal. Any commentary as to what happened? He goes, "Well, he didn't show up for work today, so we figured something was going on." I mean, that's the way these coaches are thinking. That these guys are their employees. The guy didn't show up for work today. I mean, it's such a different landscape in this college football. So much money. For the first time, really, you are seeing how these universities are valuing what this college football Goliath can bring to their universities, to their funding. And I mean, you're not safe for a year in college football as a coach. I mean, not for a year. So it'll be really interesting as things go forward and whether the classification does occur to where these are university employees, how that changes the dynamic, institutionalize NIL to where it's not all just a Wild West. Yeah. Does college football introduce a commissioner? Is Saban the commissioner for college football? There's a lot of change on the horizon in the next year or so with college football. It'll be really interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it's professional football. It's just
100%.
Before the NFL. It is. Teams have general managers and budgets.
Yeah, 100%.
$25 million budget, $30 million budget. And you know what? It's not going to get less popular because of it. Right?
No,
like you look at the landscape right now. Baseball's actually kind of had a resurgence in their ratings. It was a very good World Series. But college college football is right. Not that with the NFL, but college football is more popular than the professional sports these days.
Yeah, if you follow Kirk Herbstreit on any of his socials, he every Monday he posts a viewership for all the games that ESPN had on their platforms. And John, I'm telling you, a lot of these primetime games are getting 13 and 14 million viewers. I mean, it is you're talking when you start clipping those type of numbers, that's a big deal in today's world where you're getting, this isn't 1979 mass where 100 million people watched. I mean, 13 million in today's environment is significant.
A lot.
Yeah.
One more thing on Penn State. I'm with you. I think Hartline's the hire, and I think that'd be a great hire for Penn State to get a young coach in that really has everything that you're looking for. Because I mean, the whole Matt Rule thing, I didn't like that from the start. I'm glad he stayed at Nebraska. There's some of the other veteran coaches that have been around. The Louisville coach has been talked about. He'd be a good hire, but Hartline seems like the right time, the right place for Penn State. And
well, I'll tell you this: if Ohio State keeps rolling through like they've been rolling through, and I mean, not a lot of teams are getting even close to them.
Nope.
That Ohio State Indiana game will be interesting, but they keep rolling through. Hartline is going to have his choice of big jobs. And I'm telling you, he might, that LSU job. I know I'm an LSU fan, but that LSU job is a top 3 job. That's a primo position down there. So
it's a tough one. I don't know if I don't know if I'd want that job if I was Hartline.
So his pedigree is Big Ten, right? From Penn State to Ohio State. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens with him. And like I said earlier about Fitzgerald, Fitzgerald is a Big Ten kind of coach. He's going to parlay that into a Big Ten. Maybe Fitzgerald takes the Auburn job. I can see him in an SEC Auburn job at that type of job. But I'm telling you, these are such high profile jobs with such big stakes. I just cannot wait to see what happens with it.
All right. Well, the locks are coming up here in a second, so everybody get their pencil and paper. But we got to talk about Central City Toyota, as Uncle Jamie is the general manager, longtime general manager of Central City Toyota. Is it Toyotathon yet? Can people
not yet? We're getting there. We are accelerating, as many of our viewers will tell you. Can you believe it's going to be Thanksgiving here in a couple of weeks, and then before you know it, it's a Christmas frenzy and fiasco, or whichever one you want to call it. So so a lot of good things this month. We're really in prep mode. Really, we need to make room for the cars that Toyota is sending us for Toyotathon, which means the deals now are to be had. So come down in the next couple of weeks because the deals are just awesome. Toyota just gave preferential financing rates for used and new cars. So really a great time to partner with the #1 brand.
Is that right?
Oh, that is indeed.
Lower rates, huh? And just for the record, all of my cars since 2005 have been purchased from Central City Toyota.
That is absolutely correct.
CentralCityToyota.com. You can see their entire inventory, including the sister dealership, Ardmore Toyota, with everything that they have up there. So you can get it all at CentralCityToyota.com. All right, 2-1 week. Last week, I want some winners, damn it. By the way, I rode Indiana last week as well, and they have Penn State this week. They're in Happy Valley. Yeah, but I rode Indiana last week against Maryland, and because they're trying to roll up scores. You had them 2 weeks ago. They're just trying to roll up scores because they're not dropping out of that playoff race for sure, and they are a good team. Indiana's a good team.
They are. I was watching if you can believe this, a mock draft special with Greenberg, Mel Kiper, and Field Yates. And they have Mendoza, the quarterback of IU, going #1 in their draft. Both of them on their board right now. So
all the top guys haven't been good.
Yeah,
It's been a rough year. All right, what do we got? What's game #1?
All right, #1, we got this is where College Game Day is heading this week. Go figure. BYU visiting Texas Tech. BYU undefeated. Texas Tech 8-1. Big game. Texas Tech is favored by giving up 11 points at home. It's a big line to cover. A lot of the money, if you look at it, a lot of the money is right now going to BYU, even though the pick of it is Texas Tech. So you watch BYU, the Mighty Mormons, as they call them, big offensive line, big defensive line. Once again, they've infused their defensive line with a lot of Pacific Islanders, which I've always loved the dynamic of Utah and BYU with
Get the
that.
Polynesians. Yep.
Absolutely, man. And then, yeah, as you know, like Vita Vea, right? Those guys can play. So big lines. They play like a Big Ten team. They play very tight, big run offense. Texas Tech still, even back when they used to run the 5 alarm offense, still throw the ball around pretty good. So Texas Tech, I think, wins the game, but I think BYU covers the spread.
Oh, BYU plus 11. So BYU's undefeated, the 7th-ranked team. Texas Tech has the 1 loss. They're the 8th-ranked team.
Yeah.
That's a bit. I mean, that's a big number. All right. I think it's a Texas Tech line. I would disagree with you on that first one.
All right.
We'll go head to head.
We will see.
All right. Game number 2.
All right. We haven't, I picked this game just because we haven't talked about it much, but it's always a great rivalry game. Navy heading down to South Bend, Indiana to visit those Golden Domers, Notre Dame. So Notre Dame was a 24.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Notre Dame, even though Navy's coming in as a 7-1 Navy squad. So it's a perennially good Navy team. But Notre Dame seems like they're finally hitting their stride. The more I watch, even though I don't want to for some reason, the more I watch Marcus Freeman, the more I like him. I just like his defensive-minded demeanor. I like the way they run their offense. I like CJ Carr. I love Faison. I love their wideout. I think he's going to be a great NFL player. So I think Notre Dame, once again, they need to start establishing style points. This is the kind of game where they can give you style points, and I think it's a 38-10 game, 41-13 kind of game in my mind. So I think Notre Dame wins it and covers.
24.5's a lot, but I agree with you. They're going to go out there and they're going to try to put a beating on Navy. And let's face it, the triple option's nice when they play Army and some of those teams right there. When you're going up against a squad of future NFL players, it's tough.
No, I gotta say to you, this is a side editorial note. I'm so sick and tired of commentators of college football talking about this stupid triple option of Navy and Army. It's much like how the gods used to pray to John Chaney about his matchup zone defense. No matter what commentator he would be, it would be about John Chaney's matchup zone defense. That's all you hear about these service academies. Oh, they have the triple option. All right, the triple option. Everybody runs that RPOs nowadays. It's the same shit.
Yeah, the triple option, which works. Well, actually, I mean, Navy, they almost lost to Temple. Temple totally blew that game.
Oh, they totally blew it at the end. Absolutely. Yeah.
They should have won that game. All right, so you like Notre Dame big. Finally, game number 3, Uncle Jamie's college football locks.
So I got Oregon is traveling into Kinnick Stadium to play the Iowa Hawkeyes. So traditionally, Iowa at home is a tough game. Iowa's got, once again, always had the same defensive coordinator for the last 13 years. Kurt Ferenz has been there for 20 years. A lot of continuity in that program. They always play defense tough. Oregon's coming in. This is where you got this kid, Dante Moore. So Dante Moore, they were talking about in that mock draft, if the kid comes out, he could potential 2 or 3 pick. He hasn't played like that. So this is the kind of game where it's a national game. Kid's going to get a lot of national looks on it. I think Oregon comes out. I think they play so much more talent than Iowa has in regards of athleticism. I think this is the kind of game where it's a 21-3 in halftime. I think Iowa might come back, make it close, but I think Oregon easily covers the 6.5-point spread. So give me Oregon and giving up the points.
I do you remember, I don't know how many years ago now, but Iowa and Rutgers, it was the lowest total, over-under total, I think, in history of a game. It was like 20-some points because
it was 21.5 points.
This Iowa team, unlike North, they actually have some players on the team. If you look at some of their games, they put up in the 30s, which is you tight ends, running backs, linemen. That's what you get out of Iowa.
Yeah,
you don't normally get skill guys. They actually have some players on this team. So
they beat Minnesota 41-3. Right, so
37-0 over Wisconsin, 41-3 their last game against Minnesota.
Yeah,
I'll be curious to see. They did lose to Iowa State earlier in the year.
So traditionally, when you see an Iowa team Iowa teams are always the 8-3, 7-4, 9-2 kind of team, right? But where you always see the chasm is where you see the athleticism difference between the skill players, as you mentioned, on Iowa compared to the skill players on the top programs. And to your point, how many tight ends right now are from Iowa in the NFL? I mean, the entire NFL, it seems like, right?
Right.
So it's but those skill players, I think that's where Oregon. This is where they put their money in. This is where they put their juice in. That's why I think I think they win by a touchdown, 7, 8, 9 points, somewhere in there.
No, and Dan Lanning against Ferentz. I mean, you couldn't have a bigger disparity in a coaching matchup. So
I mean, John, you can make an argument. I would say a pretty strong argument that Dan Lanning is probably the best coach in America. I love Dan Lanning. I just love what he brings there. It's there's a lot of money there. There's a lot of facility there. You're in Oregon, even though you're all the way up in Oregon. He's just a money coach, man. The guy's got what you need. He's another Alabama disciple, man. He's coming from that Saban tree.
All right. Well, we have BYU plus 11, Notre Dame minus 24.5, and Oregon minus 6.5. Coming off a 2-1 week. That is Uncle Jamie's. They are Uncle Jamie's college football locks of the week. Again, make sure you're liking and subscribing to 97.5, the Fanatics YouTube page. Just like, subscribe, comment, whether it's the picks that we're talking about or any of the college football talk that we're talking about. And we'll be back again next week for Uncle Jamie's college football locks of the week. See ya. Thanks for watching Middays with Marks. Like and subscribe right here. If you like and subscribe, you probably are loving what you're watching. There's more of it right here. Check it out.